Okay, Andy, we are live on YouTube. Let me just get the links out and we will get started here shortly.
Okay.
Let's do one more time. Okay. Link is up on YouTube, going to Facebook, and we will get started shortly. Here we go.
All right. Moment.
Okay. All right, let me know when you're ready and we can fire this thing off.
I am ready.
All right, we'll get started here live. As you can tell, Andy Kemper and I on location at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. It is very bright behind us. The lights are still on. Ice has been resurfaced here on Friday night. The Everett Silvertips skate away with a 2-1 victory in overtime over the Portland Winterhawks. This post-game show is brought to you by Jay Rallis and Sellers. Huge thank you to them for making this all possible. So as people are joining, feel free to post your comments on YouTube, and we'll be happy to address your comments or questions. So Andy, I'll start with you, and same way that we kind of started the press conference with Mike Johnson. What were your overall thoughts on tonight's game?
I really thought tonight's game was entertaining. I thought it got better as the game went. I think Everett maybe had the jump in the first 10, 15 minutes, and Portland got better in the first after that. It was a game that featured strong goaltending, both ends. Both teams had scoring chances, and for an early season game between two teams that haven't played a lot of games, I thought it was entertaining. I thought both teams had the opportunity to win the hockey game, and at the end of the night, to give the Everett Silvertips credit, they came out with the overtime win. But can't fault the way Portland played. They had the opportunity to get the victory, and it's just another step in the season to between the two teams that are most likely could contend for the top two spots of the division.
Yeah, and you talked about an early matchup, and Mike Johnson said that this kind of felt like a playoff game in a way, right? It's a low scoring, lots of line matching. We were talking right before we got on here about just how much those top two lines for both teams played there, and it seemed like in overtime they were every other shift. So Cole Fonstad was probably the best skater on the ice, at least forward for the Silvertips tonight. Januzzi got the best of him on, I think, two breakaways, a 2-on-1, a 3-on-1, and then I think we, from the Portland side, I think we both kind of agreed that Simon Knack was the best skater. I'd give the nod to Januzzi and net overall, but what did you see from any of those three players tonight?
Well, for sure. I mean, obviously, Fonstad is an elite scorer in the Western Hockey League. Led Everett in goals last year. Only had one in the first 3 games for the Silvertips to start the season, but he was flying tonight. He had, as you mentioned, 2 or 3 really, really good looks on Januzzi in the regulation part of the hockey game, and in overtime he had a drive around Clausen that Januzzi had to make a great stick save on prior to him getting the winner. And he's a guy that you got to watch every shift. Playing in line with Gage Gonsalves, another guy who's a tremendous offensive threat. But for Portland, you talk about Simon Knack, and I'm seeing a maturity in Knack's game that from last year as a 17-year-old rookie and making it the move to North America to play hockey. And I'm seeing a more physical presence. He's driving the net hard. He's taking the puck to the net, trying to get those chances in low. He had a great chance in the first period on a rebound on the power play that he just put wide, and then he winds up getting the shorthanded goal, the second shorthanded goal of the season to tie it at 1 in the second. And you can see that the playing part of the year with Davos and playing with adults and in a senior league in Switzerland is paying dividends for him. I think the better he plays, the better chance he has of being drafted in the draft this year as a second-year eligible player. And if he continues to drive to that, and we saw the playmaking from Simon a lot last year, but we're starting to see the goal scoring a little bit too. And it's one of those guys I think is going to be a key for Portland if they want to contend to try to win the U.S. Division this season for sure.
Simon was the other person we had a press conference with, and I asked him that question about playing with Davos. And, I think his big point was that he had the opportunity to play against men, and he had to use his body a lot more. And that helped kind of prepare him for this season now in the WHL. And, at times he's going up against, some guys who maybe aren't as physically mature as he is. So, it's interesting to watch his development as he gets used to the smaller ice, and as he starts to kind of figure out the timing of when and where he needs to be and arriving on time. That's something you always talk about with power forwards is, it's where you get to, but it's also when you get there.
Right.
And if you're there too soon, they can box you out. If you get there too late, the puck's gone. So, I think that's another step that he's taken in his game. And he touched on his goal that, he acknowledged that there's a risk anytime you go forward, on a shorthanded chance like that. Because if it doesn't go their way, it's probably an odd man rush going the other direction. So
yeah.
Overall, I think Simon played probably his best game in a Winterhawks jersey without, looking back at everything. I just thought he really stood off the page tonight, from my perspective. So I want to ask you about Johnny Fairbrother and what you saw from him tonight. It seemed like he was out there probably 30 minutes tonight. What did you see from him?
He was steady Eddie. He was the guy that was out there a lot against Jarvis and Giroux and that combination. And, as an overage defenseman, you expect him to be a leader and you expect him to get a lot of ice time. But he doesn't lose battles very often in the defensive zone. He goes in the corner and he usually comes out with it. And I think that's tonight what I noticed most is that he was a controlling presence when he was on the ice, offensively, defensively. When the puck was near him, he was under control. He made safe plays when he had to, but he also was able to take risks and jump into the play, hit the post on the power play in the second period. And, to come back as an overage, Montreal Canadian prospect was a boost for the Silvertips this year. And he got a lot of playing time. And, I was looking at the rosters tonight and, veterans versus rookies. And, both teams dressed four rookie forwards tonight. And on the defense, Everett did dress one defenseman, a young defenseman named Gibson, a 17-year-old defenseman. But he didn't get a lot of shifts. They were rolling 5 D-men most night. And for Portland, you look at the other side, and you had Ryder Thompson and Ryan McClearly both playing big minutes as a 16 and a 17-year-old defenseman. And then up front, you had 4 rookie forwards for Portland with Jazowski and Marcus Nguyen as 16-year-olds, and then Bevington and Aiden Litkey as 17-year-olds. Silvertips, even with their rookies, one of the rookies is an 18-year-old in Hofer. So they had a more veteran lineup, but, Portland's stuck with them stride for stride. I think the shots turned out to be 36-35 or 36-36, actually.
36-36, yep.
Yeah. So at the end of the night, I think for Portland, you take it, you go, okay. Dustin Wolf, continues to do what he needs to do, but I thought Portland had enough opportunities tonight that they could have beat Everett regulation. And if you want to look from every side, I think they can look at themselves in the mirror and say the exact same thing. So 2 good teams. I thought they both played well. And for Portland, it was just, an overtime loss, 2-0-2 on the season. Now get ready for Seattle tomorrow.
Yeah. And, again, we're coming to you live from the VMC here as they kind of work on tearing it down. Thanks again to Jay Rallis and Sellers. We're taking any questions or comments you guys have on social media. Andy, I think one of the things we've seen, and I know we get the question every night, 3 stars in the game. I don't know if this is something that's not getting announced in the building this year. I don't know if that's something that you've seen, but so as fans, I know that there's that question that comes around. As soon as we hear that, we'll be sure to pass that along to you. But
yeah, I think I overheard Nick on the end of his broadcast. I think he said it was Fonstad 1, Januzzi 2, and Wolf 3.
Okay, that would make sense.
Don't take that to the bank, but I believe that's what I heard.
Sure. Okay. So for those of you who asked that question, there's your answer. Andy Kemper coming in off the top rope again with it. So beautiful. Dustin Wolf, I think it has to be mentioned that he passed Carter Hart tonight in longest shutout streak for the Everett Silvertips. I believe, if I remember and did my math right on both situations, I think it's 283 minutes and 32 seconds. I think, if I remember right. Either way, 3 periods.
I'm not going to hold you to the math. That's okay.
Yeah, please don't. Public school in Minnesota, forgive me. He gets 3 shutouts to start the season, gets through the first period, rather unscathed. 5 or 6 shots for Portland?
10-6 shots after the first.
10-6, yep. And was that McCleary shot in the first? I can't remember. But other than that, it didn't really look like the Winterhawks maybe tested him too much. What did you see from Wolf tonight?
I think for Dustin Wolf, he made the saves he had to. He's never been a flashy, flamboyant goaltender. He's going to make the economical moves, if you will, to get himself in a position to make the saves. And I think Portland, got to the front of the net on occasion tonight, but they didn't get a lot of cross crease passes, getting him moving right to left. And you got to give Everett defense credit for that also, because they took away those passing lanes in a lot of cases. Portland had some looks in the power play that where they were able to move it side to side. But I thought he was just Dustin Wolf. He just he makes the saves. He doesn't look flashy, but at the end of the night, he stops 35 or 36 and gets the win. And for him to start the season, that's an off night since he hadn't allowed a goal in the first 3. But he's a 19-year-old goaltender, Calgary Flames prospect. He's going to be in their system next year. It's his last chance in the Western Hockey League, and it'll be interesting just how much Dennis Williams uses him. So far, he's played in all 4 games. Do they want to get some experience for their backup goaltender in Holt? And that remains to be seen. We saw Mike Johnston last weekend get Brock Gould a game, even though it wasn't 3-3. He gave that 3rd game to Brock Gould, and we'll see how that goes. But he came in with only, I think, 70 saves or somewhere around there in the first
70
games, so he wasn't tested a bunch. But tonight I thought Portland tested him more, and he came up when he had to. He made a great save on Simon Ack in overtime, and played a typical Dustin Wolf hockey game, and that's just steady. And at the end of the night, he finds a way to get the win.
And it wasn't this season, obviously, with there not being a Neely Cup, but it was before last year. I was sitting next to Andy Moog, who's Portland's goaltending coach.
Yeah.
And I was just, absorbing as much information as I could take in. That guy will forget more about goaltending than I'll ever know. But one of the things that he mentioned that he likes to see from his goalies is if they're making the flashy save, they're probably out of position.
Great.
And so, when there was the play, I think it was down at this corner here with Fonstad, I believe on the power play, Januzzi pushed hard from right to left, puck hit him right in the chest. And, it looks like a pretty mundane save, but if Januzzi doesn't have as strong of a push as he has there, that's was it as his blocker, as a glove? I'm all turned around right now, but that looks a little bit more of an acrobatic save. So, it looks pedestrian, but you have to give him credit for that hard push to make it look like a routine save.
Yeah, obviously, if your goaltender makes a spectacular save, it's going to wind up in the highlights, and everybody's going to love it. But I think if most goaltending coaches had their way, it would just be routine, and put yourself in the proper position. And it's all about reading the play and making good decisions between the pipes. And I thought both goaltenders did tonight. I thought when Dante was tested on the breakaways with Fonstad, he was aggressive. He came out. He was cutting the angle, taking away room for Fonstad to maybe deke as he got in closer, and forcing maybe a wrist shot where if Fonstad has another stride, he can maybe make a deke to a backhand and get the goalie moving right to left. And so I thought, those little plays really stood out for Dante tonight to be aggressive and take away the ice from the oncoming forward. And, same thing with Dustin Wolf. Portland didn't have the breakaway opportunities that Everett had, but he's aggressive. He plays at the top of his crease, and he makes a lot of saves with his body, shoulders and chest, just by being in the right position and reading the play and making a heady decision, a half second maybe before the player knows he's going to shoot the puck.
Yeah, and I think, one of the things Johnson mentioned afterwards was that both goaltenders didn't really give up a lot of rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so, with there being the opportunities on the power play, especially there in the third period, Januzzi swallowed everything up.
Yeah.
Same thing with Wolf. When I asked Johnson about if he felt his team got to the front of the net enough, I remember him always telling me last year about how important that is with Wolf, is you got to take his eyes away. And so, that was my question to him tonight was, how do you feel your team did in that area? And he said, it was hard with trying to see for sure. He would need to go back and look at it. But ultimately what he said is that there wasn't rebound opportunities to really have guys kind of, bang away at the puck. You had mentioned that, Simon's opportunity in the first period, I think from Delorme had a chance there, but for the most part, the goaltenders just, the puck, like it was sticking to him. One of the things Johnson said was this is the first time they've had ice in here. So I'd be curious your thoughts, Andy, on what you saw, if you thought the ice looked choppy, or how you felt the ice held up over the course of 64 and a half minutes.
Oh, it held up okay. I mean, it's from sitting in our angle, there's a couple pucks that bounced on passes through center ice, long stretch passes. Portland tried a few of those in the game. They had an opportunity with Newkirk behind the defense once, and it hopped over his stick. Same with Clausen, same with From Delorme. And I think, the longer the pass, there's a better opportunity for it to have a hop. But, it's I remember a wise coach telling me once, it might have been Don Hay in an interview when he was with Vancouver, that the ice is the same for both teams. So he never worried about bad ice. You played through it, and if it means you have to muck and grind and get to the net more if you can't make long passes, you do it. Yep. And I thought there were a few occasions where Portland got traffic in front of Dustin Wolf and used their D-man to get opportunities to get shots away. We talked about, you mentioned McCleary's opportunity in the first where he hit the post, set up by Jarvis from behind the net. There was traffic in front of Dustin Wolf. He never saw the shot. And then there was a play in the second where Jarvis once again found Curtis Smythe coming into the play late down the slot, and Smythe missed wide by about an inch or two with room on that far side. If he gets it on net, it's in. And Wolf never saw that shot either because there was traffic between him and the shooter. So the opportunities when Portland got the shots, they just couldn't quite get it on frame. And, that's just a matter of maybe a little bad puck luck for McCleary. And then Smythe just missing his spot by an inch or two. And so there were opportunities there with traffic, but when those opportunities arose, either Wolf made the save and no rebound, or Portland put it wide of the net.
I know we touch on most nights if there's going to be scoring changes, and of course we have one to talk about tonight. So it was announced in the building that Dylan Anderson got the first goal for Everett, but the off-ice officials here tonight have corrected that to Gage Gonsalves.
Yeah.
So he got it deflected. So depending upon when you looked at the score sheet, you may have noticed that had gotten changed. And then there was also a mention at the beginning, I think, that Keyshawn Gervais got a penalty, but it was actually that was weird.
Gervais served by Cade Nolan. No, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah,
choose somebody to serve your penalty. It was Cade Nolan, and it is correct on the score sheet. So
yep. So one of the things I do want to, I asked you about it. Was it after the Spokane game or after the Seattle game? Doesn't matter. Are there I asked Johnson the same thing. Are there concerns yet that Portland is through 4 games and Jarvis and Duro have a combined 0 goals? And before you answer, I'll give you Johnson's.
Okay.
And his answer is, are they playing the right way? And are the goals going to come? Yes. But are they playing the right way? And are they doing other things away from the puck? And the answer is yes. Does the game look different tonight if Portland's arguably 2 or 3 top forwards gets a goal? Maybe, because when you look at Everett, Fonstad and Gonsalves with the goals, and Simon is a top 6 forward for sure, but in big games like this, sometimes you need your big players to be at the forefront. Is there any cause for Portland fans to be concerned about Jarvis and Duro?
It's, if it goes longer, possibly. I would agree with Mike's statement. I think they're playing the game the right way, and the puck maybe not bouncing their way, or maybe not, the shots are hitting the goalie in the chest. Jarvis had a shot tonight that hit Wolf in the mask. And there's been some opportunities where the puck's just been out of the reach when they've had an open opportunity to get shots away too. And maybe the save of the night we didn't talk about Dustin Wolf was Giroux in the third, a shot that hit Wolf, rolled over his shoulder, and he reached around and caught it behind his back. With it rolling towards the net. If it hits the ice, it goes in. But Wolf somehow knew the puck was rolling down between the numbers on the back of his jersey, and he reached back and got it. But to answer your question, should fans be concerned? Fans are going to be concerned. They're, I can't tell you how they're going to feel, but I know that we're 4 games in and neither has a goal. So I think if you talk to most fans, they will say they're concerned about it. As someone who's watched hockey a long time, I'm more concerned about the process and Portland 2-0-2. The 2 losses have come in overtime and the 2 wins. You can't argue too much about it. And hockey's hockey, and maybe Jarvis tomorrow night gets one to bounce it off a guy's leg, and all of a sudden that breaks the ice for him. So you never know what's going to turn a player and get their game going and get the pucks going in the net on a regular occasion. We saw with Seth last year, the second half of the year, that he took over just about 80% of what he shot wound up at the back of the net. So I think once it gets going, it's going to get going. But I try not to dwell too much on 4 games without a goal.
Totally fair. So the next question that I have for you is around the effort level, and that's how we concluded the press conference with Mike. Was if he got the same effort level tonight on Saturday and Sunday, would he be satisfied regardless of whether or not the 4 points came if you're a Portland fan? And his answer was absolutely. So from your standpoint, how did the effort, we're not on the bench. We're not, we can hear a lot more with there not being any piped in crowd noise tonight. You could really hear it, especially with Newkirk and Gervais, arguing back and forth with a couple of silver tips. But so from your standpoint, from what you saw and with all your years of experience of watching the Winterhawks hockey, how do you feel the effort was tonight?
I have no complaints about the effort today whatsoever. Portland was battling all night. They got in and threw some hits. Marcus Nguyen, the young kid, got a big hit the first period. Gervais was physical when he had to be. Manic and those guys played hard. I will say that I thought Portland looked nervous maybe in the first 10, 12 minutes of the hockey game. Just my interpretation. But I think once they got through that first 10 to 12 minutes, I thought they were, equally as good, if not maybe a little better than Everett in a lot of ways in this hockey game. So I can't complain about the effort. If Portland goes into Seattle and plays with the same effort tomorrow night, I think there's a good opportunity to get 2 points out of the building, although Seattle played really well tonight from what I understand, and played in Spokane and shut out the Chiefs 5-0. So it's going to be a fun game to watch tomorrow night. I know you're going to be there in person.
I am.
I want you to get on TV, but it's, effort level's been there. Portland's played, well enough to win all 4 games they've played this season. And that's all you can really ask for your team. Yep.
And maybe one of the other storylines tonight was, if depending upon how closely people paid attention, former Winterhawk Joe Mahan was one of the linesmen tonight. So he was making his WHL debut. 2 years ago, he was one of the linesmen for the Neely Cup, and he's been working with some of the other local Portland referees and linesmen in the area, including Ian Walsh, who has some NHL experience, and a few other guys, Jared Bowman, and I believe Freeman. Can't remember Freeman's first name now, but he's been working with a couple of those guys. And, for Portland fans, it's kind of fun to see, or for WHL fans or Calgary Hitmen fans, to see one of your former players kind of what are they doing after hockey. And he found a way to get back into hockey. And when you have someone who could drop the gloves as good as Joe could, he knows what to look for when he's breaking up a scrum after the whistle. So I think we talked on it after one of the games this past weekend, is if you don't notice them, that they had a good game in terms of a rookie defenseman. I think the same thing can be said about a linesman. I don't remember any time tonight where it was, he looked in over his head or he got a call wrong. He seemed like he was really on top of it.
No, I thought he was good. I mean, as you mentioned, there weren't a few rushes where you thought, oh, that guy was offside, and they blew it, or he wasn't offside and they let it go, or whatever it happened to be. I thought he was good. I mean, there was a couple of times with some missed drops on faceoffs, but that wasn't necessarily his fault. It was players cheating on the faceoffs, and the old adage is, if you're not cheating on faceoffs, you're not trying. Uh,
Right.
but I thought he was great. I mean, it's great to see him. There's been a few other players that have played in the league that have gone on through this route. Most notably Ryan Gibbons, who played for Seattle, who became a linesman in the Western Hockey League, and I believe he's in the NHL now as a linesman. So there is an opportunity and a path there for these players if they want to pursue that. I think if you had asked Joe Mahan when he was a player if he would be a hockey official at any point in time, I don't think he would say yes. But I think it's great, and we wish him the best. And one thing you're going to see in the U.S. division this year is, because all the referees have to be U.S. based because of the travel restrictions, some of the people that were linesmen in years past are going to be donning the stripes as referees this year. Freeman tonight, Jared Bowman did a game in Tri-Cities. I think the Everett game in Tri-Cities on Sunday, who's normally a linesman of the Western Hockey League. So an opportunity for these guys to branch out and become, the officials, the referees on the ice versus the linesmen, and a chance to grow their careers as well.
I believe Freeman and Bowman are assigned the game tomorrow night up in Seattle. So it'll be an interesting. There's always that local angle, right? And as the Seattle Kraken come in, as more and more hockey happens in the Pacific Northwest, from all angles, right? Yep. It's a developmental league for everybody, including the players, the coaches, the officials, the beat writers, the team historians, whatever you want to call it. I think you're maybe fully developed at this point, but
there's some little question that.
So I want to give you an opportunity as we kind of start to wrap this up.
Yeah.
About the article that you wrote today for PNW Hockey Talk, and I know you've got that After the Whistle blog there. So I appreciate you joining our site and doing that. But I want to give you an opportunity to maybe in audio form to kind of plug that and kind of what you wrote about, and without maybe too many spoilers, or however you want to handle that. I'll turn it over to you.
Well, obviously, knowing that I was going to be back in the building this week, when I got the word from Nick Merrick that I got the authorization to be in person, which honestly I didn't expect, knowing the limitations, but giving the opportunity and coming back to this building, and a place that has had so many memories for me throughout my entire life, from when I was a young child watching Buckaroo games with my father, to the Winterhawks coming in 1976 when I was 10, and just quickly adopting that, and just so many things in my life have happened in this building. My high school graduation, a number of music concerts that changed my life when I was in high school. But the most notable thing that happened here was I met my wife at a Winterhawk game in 1985. And I can't, as I said in the article, I can't imagine what my life would be if I hadn't met my wife at that point. We've been married for 34 years this summer. And she still loves to come to the games, when they're able to come in the building. And I talked about being emotional and being nostalgic, and I try to put up a tough exterior, but at the end of it, when I get talking about these past memories, get a little misty, a little dusty in here, and I think about times with my father in this building, who passed away at way too young of an age of 62, back in 1992, and just learning from him the sport. And at the end of the night, I'm happy that I'm so happy that I'm able to come back to the building, but to me, it's still a bit bittersweet, because I can't have my family here, and I can't have the hockey family here, the fans that have grown up around me in this building. There's so many people that I come in the building who I've seen in this building for 30 years, 35 years, the same people over and over. And until we can all be back at this building and we can all watch hockey together, this is still a bit, as I said, bittersweet. And I can't wait for that day to come soon enough. And if you want to check out my article, it's called Home, because to me, this is my second home. And I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to have the space to post those kind of articles.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't you know, it's such a privilege to be able to be working with you this year
Yeah.
and getting to know you over these past couple of seasons on, you know, with my time here. So I consider it a tremendous privilege and a tremendous honor to be to doing this with you. And so, you know, for fans, keep your eye out. Andy's writing and we're posting it up on the site. We'll link to it on social media. So I can't think of a better way, Andy, to wrap us up. So just kind of like maybe in your old days, I'll let you sign us off.
Well, thanks, Josh, and I just want to thank the fans for tuning into these post game shows. Josh's idea to kind of wrap things up, and we'll do it again the next 2 nights, Saturday and Sunday. Both games in Seattle, both games on Portland CW in the Rose City, so you can be able to watch those games on TV. And just to say the outcome wasn't what Portland wanted tonight, but the effort and the drive was there. But at the end, Everett wins 2-1, and Portland has a chance to go to Seattle, get some bit redemption, and try to come up with 4 more points out of the Showware Center in Kent. So